Alright, what's up everyone? Here I have a game review from my main account. For those of you who don't know, I recently hit 2,000 on my main account, and I found that my games have been getting a lot harder. Even the people that are like high 1900s, they're just like grinding towards 2,000, whether they've been there before and want it back, or if they're, first timers that are trying to get there. But they're definitely punching above their weight, just how I was when I first crossed 2,000. I was playing super well every game. But this is a game that I was, one, proud of, and two, I thought I learned a lot from, so I want to go over it with you guys. It was actually a pretty long game. It was 54 moves, and I just do 10 minutes on this account now. I know most of the past game reviews have been 30 minutes, but these have been 10 minutes, and I've still been fairly accurate. But yeah, let me go over this game. So I had the white pieces this game, so of course we're starting with b4. We get e6, bishop e2, b6, e3, h6, which I thought was a weird move, but it was a move. So I take the center with c4. We get knight to f6. Let me just point out real quick. I want c4 just to keep this option of taking this pawn. Unfortunately, I don't win the rook here because he would just go up to h7, but all I have to do is drop back, and he can't castle on this side, and we exchange pawns pretty much, so I'm not too upset with that play, if it were to happen. That's the word I was looking for. Knight comes out, so now I'm forced to either play a3 or b5. I'm going to say it again, even though I say it like every time I make this decision, but pretty much b5 is a riskier line to play. a3 is a safer line to play. You aren't moving your pawns as much with a3, and with b5 you're kind of just sending them all, or you could easily lose track of one and then have a rough position once you're down a pawn or two. Whereas with a3 you're playing a lot more safe. My opponent ever plays like some weird kind of opening, I'll often play something weird in response, but since he's just doing pretty solid moves, nothing weak yet on the board, I don't want to confuse things further. I just want to keep things safe. But anyway, let's keep going. A lot of game to go. He fianchettos. I just put my knight there immediately, so I don't have to deal with the trouble of leaving my bishop. And he contests my b4 pawn. So now I do push to b5. I don't want to be the one to give him a free file. That he'll also have a bishop and a rook gunning down, so I pretty much always have to keep two defenders at all time, which isn't pleasant. He's looking to castle, so I take the center, and I have a control of a lot of squares in his territory, so I'm pretty happy. We see castle. I get my other knight out. We see d5. I'm going to let him capture. It's a little weird stutter stepping, when I might end up taking on c4 anyway, but I do want to castle, and putting it on d3 I just don't think is a very good option. So that's what happens. He looks to trade. I would much rather have his light squared bishop and keep mine, so I could have some good attacks on his king. After all, my pawns are on dark squares, so I'm very happy having my bishop on the light squares. Conversely, his bishop also was surrounded by dark squared pawns, so you'd think he'd want to keep it, but he gave me the exchange. He takes back with a knight, so I take control of this little outpost that I have. He can kick me, but this would very much weaken his e6 square that he has no real way of remedying. He doesn't have a light square bishop either, so his light squares in general would just be really weak. He attacks me with a bishop instead, which I didn't calculate. I should have, so I just have to move back. He plays c6. I castle. I have no problem with this exchange right here. He targets my bishop. Again, I don't want to trade it just yet. We see b5. I go bishop to e4, contesting this rook. He just moves out of the way, goes a7. Rook to b1, and pretty much I'm just trying to line my rook up against this file, because that's where I think the action is going to take place. I also want to give myself a place to back up with a bishop if need be. Rook comes over. My bishop goes to c3, so now he's kind of glued there for a second, because otherwise I'm going to take. Also trying to bait out this move where I'll be a pawn up. And what he does is he attacks the pawn that I just left my defense for. So I defend it with my queen, also connect the rooks. Knight comes over to d7, however it doesn't really have a great square because of my d4 move early on. So I play a4 here. He pushes, and I drop back. And now pretty much what I wanted to do here, and I accomplished, is I froze this side of the board. Yes, this pawn can still run, but I have plenty of defense for it. And more importantly, I'm able to attack to my heart's content on that side. He attacks my bishop again. You'll notice that he's been gunning for this bishop the whole time, but I just don't want to trade it. Just because, positionally speaking, this bishop is super, super strong. It even has an outpost if it so wants it, once this knight is gone. Rook comes over to c6. I can now hop back here since his bishop doesn't occupy that square. He just moves his rook over to d6. And I now take the open file for myself. Excuse me. We get the knight coming to d5, so he has a decent square for his knight as well. However, it can't hop to c3 as of now just because he's going to lose his very important passed pawn, and he doesn't have anything on the other side of the board to go to. I kick it away with e4, just kind of seeing where he wants to go. He chooses to attack my bishop. Again, common trend. I still choose to run away. He's going to take the pawn, so he has a temporary pawn advantage. I take the rook, and he takes... Sorry, I said something stupid. I think I was going to attack his rook here, but I can't remember how. Yeah, I'm not sure if I was going to play this move, or if I was going to then try to get these two pieces stuck. I don't remember how I wanted to do this. Oh, maybe that's what it was. I think it was here. So the queen has to move somewhere, and then e5 is coming. So pretty much I think he was going to lose his rook either way. Sorry, I just had to remember the thought process for a second. So he takes. Not bad, getting a pawn that would have been a passed pawn, and my strong bishop for a rook. It's not bad at all. But now I'm going to start my attack on him. And I don't want to relieve the pressure just yet, because this bishop isn't going anywhere for a little bit longer, so I'm going to try keeping the tension. He has to protect it by going to c7. I move my queen to the other side of the board, so now if I were to take this, and he has to recapture, then I have a free knight. So he goes, frees up his bishop, and protects his knight. I take the pawn. It looks like it's hanging, however, if you were to take it, I'm going to take this, and then this is going to be hanging. So I would be getting a piece for a piece, pretty much. So it's just a pawn. He backs up with his knight, so now his bishop has no obligation to help it out. I move my knight over, attack the bishop. He checks me, takes the pawn back. I just sidestep it, no biggie. His knights can't really coordinate too well to get my king. Bishop returns, and I take the pawn, and he attacks my rook. However, I have a pretty good structure right here. Everything is kind of protecting itself, with the exception of the rook, so I just protect it and double up with my other rook. He attacks it. I attack him. He goes back. I move my knight out of the way, so now my bishop doesn't have to protect it anymore. He attacks my queen. I go up a square, and we have some exchanges. I obviously don't want to double, so I take with the rook. And now this gets a little bit annoying. He's going to start being able to capture my pawns, and I cannot stop all of them from being captured. For example, this may look like he's just hanging his knight. Nope, I'm actually hanging my rook. So I kind of just have to give him a pawn and just like say whatever, you know, it is what it is. So he takes it, and then I fork him with f3. And this still isn't like a complete fork, right? Because he can check me. And I can't go up there to attack him because of this one, so now he can retreat it. He goes to e5, and I start pushing my pawn. He goes to defend. I kick this away so that I can get some overseas, I guess if that's a word, onto that rook. And he chooses to go knight to e4. Again, it looks like a indirect way of protecting, I believe. I don't think he just hung that. Let me see how. G5. Okay, I lied. I don't remember the idea. I think he's just trolling at this point. So yeah, the game's over at that point. Am I sure? Was there nothing he... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I had a double attack. That's what it was. So I had an attack on this knight and this knight. So I was just looking for tactics while they were close together and able to be threatened. And that's how I won this. Now he just creates some room for his king. I just attack both pieces simultaneously. He gives up the rook for the pawn. Attacks my rook. Check. And then we have a resignation a few moves later. I think he was trying to see if he could win one of my rooks, but he wasn't able to. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that game review. I thought I played pretty well, and I thought that it was kind of a hard game to play, because it wasn't like I gained a significant advantage in the early game. It was really just trying to, keep my bishop in the game as long as possible. And I think the lesson that I learned from this one is that you can literally win a game just off of having, the correct bishop or knight. In this case, the light square bishop was super powerful because I was able to dart in and out of positions. And if you look at the very end of the game, that bishop is still alive. So, yeah, not all bishops and knights are equal. I thought this game very well displayed that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.